We're about to explore the absolutely incredible journey of a woman who was stolen, sold, and scarred beyond imagination, yet somehow emerged as a global symbol of resilience and, unbelievably, forgiveness. This is the story of Saint Josephine Bakhita. Her life really began with two completely opposite realities. On one hand, she was born into a respected family, the niece of a tribal chief. She should have had a happy, peaceful childhood. But on the other hand, that life was violently ripped away from her and she was forced into slavery. So let's go back in time. When in the Darfur region of Sudan, around 1869, she was born into the Daju people, and she later said that as a little girl, she did not know suffering. It was a happy, carefree world, a world that was about to be completely destroyed. And this is the moment that changes everything. When she was just 7, maybe 8 years old, she was snatched up by Arab slave traders. In an instant, her childhood was just over. The ordeal that came next is almost impossible to wrap your head around. She was forced to walk barefoot for over 600 miles to a slave market. The trauma was so complete, so profound, that she actually forgot her own birth name. Her captors gave her a new one, and it's almost a sick joke, Bakhita, which means fortunate in Arabic. For the next 12 years, Bakhita wasn't even a person. She was property. Think about that. She was bought, sold, and even just given away more than a dozen times. Her life was a blur of constant pain and not knowing what would happen next. You know, her experiences were different with each owner, but the cruelty was always there. With one master, she broke a vase, and for that, she was beaten so badly she couldn't move for an entire month. With another, the beatings were just a daily routine. As soon as one wound started to heal, a new one was inflicted. But the absolute most horrific ordeal was still to come. While she was owned by a Turkish general, his wife decided that Bakhita should be marked as part of a ritual scarring practice. It was just a brutal display of ownership and power. 114. That's the number. A woman drew patterns on her body with flour and then, piece by piece, cut into her flesh with a blade. And then she rubbed the open wounds with salt to make sure the scars would be permanent. 114 scars, each one a reminder of her bondage. And that trauma, it never left her. This quote says it all. Decades later, as she was dying, her mind went right back to that agony. Her last words were spent reliving the crushing weight of those chains. But then, in 1883, something finally shifted. She was sold to an Italian vice-consul named Callisto Lugani, and for the first time in over a decade, she had a master who didn't beat her. You can see here how her whole world started to change. When Lugani had to go back to Italy, Bakhita begged him to take her with him. He actually agreed, and just like that, she was on a new continent. He eventually placed her with the Canossian Sisters in Venice, and it was there, of all places, that she would finally find her freedom. So when her old mistress tried to take her back, the whole thing went to court. And the ruling was, well, it was profound. The court decided that Bakhita had never been a legal slave in the first place because slavery had already been abolished in Sudan before she was even born. She wasn't being given freedom. The court was just recognizing the right she should have had her entire life. Can you even imagine that moment? After 20 years of being told exactly where to go, what to do, who to serve, suddenly she was in control. She could actually choose for herself. So what do you do with that kind of power? The power of choice. After everything she'd been through, she didn't look for revenge. She didn't hide from the world, no. She chose a life of faith, of service, and of what you can only call radical forgiveness. She chose to stay with the Canossian Sisters. In 1890, she was baptized, and she chose a new name for herself, Josephine. 6 years after that, she took her final vows and dedicated the rest of her life, the next 42 years, to God, serving quietly in a convent in Chile, Italy. Her life wasn't about big, grand gestures. It was about quiet, constant love. She worked as a cook, as a doorkeeper. The local people came to know her as the Madre Moreta, or the Black Mother. They knew her for her gentle smile and her comforting voice. She'd lovingly caress the heads of the local kids and just offer comfort to anyone who came to the convent door. Now this quote right here is almost impossible to understand. Her perspective is just wow. She had this capacity for forgiveness that is just on another level. She came to see all that horrific suffering not as a dead end, but as the twisted, painful path that somehow, unbelievably, led her to a faith that gave her true freedom. After she died in 1947, her story, this story of incredible holiness, began to spread. The Catholic Church started the long official process to recognize her extraordinary life, and it all led up to the year 2000, when Pope John Paul II officially declared her a saint. And this is why her story is so incredibly powerful today. She is the patron saint of Sudan, sure, but she's also the patron saint of all victims of modern-day slavery and human trafficking. Her life is this amazing beacon of hope. It's proof that the human spirit can not only survive, but actually rise above the most unimaginable horrors. So Saint Bakhita's story really leaves us with this one final powerful question. What is freedom, really? Is it just about not having physical chains on you? Or is it something deeper, an internal freedom of the soul that you can find even in the middle of unbelievable suffering?